Welcome to Teis Talks, where we discuss all things faith and family. And today's guests are all the way from Africa, but they didn't start there.
No, they didn't. They started in Brazil. They speak Portuguese, and God called them to the island of Cape Verde in the western hemisphere of Africa.
I told Neil when they were showing me where they're from, I'm like, oh, can we please go on a missions trip there?
Amen.
And yes. And then my friend Kelly Edmondson, who her and her husband run MMO, I had posted pictures of you guys for our missions trip. And she's like, we're going there next year. And I was like, I think this is the Lord, honey.
Amen.
We need to go visit because it's an island off of Africa. And then your daughter showed me photos of the place and how there's so many people just willing to hear the gospel. And it's such a unique group of people. Will you tell us a little bit about that? Like the different cultures that are involved in that?
We have dear friends that were servants here in this church for many, many years. Tony and Dorothy Silva. Tony was from Cape Verde, and his whole family was from there. And that was the place where the slave trade operated in a big way back in the 1700s. And he would tell me about his burden for Cape Verde.
Wow.
And they actually went there, passed out tracts. I don't know if you ever met Tony or not, but it's when I realized you were from Cape Verde, I thought, man, that's amazing that we have you here with us. So we're glad that you're here, and we really want to hear about your ministry there in Cape Verde.
So how did you end up there in Cape Verde?
Well,
And we say it wrong too, right? How do you supposed to
Cabo
say?
Verde.
Cabo Verde.
Cabo Verde.
Okay.
Yes. When my husband told me the first time about Cabo Verde, I thought, where? What? I had no idea. We had met some people from Cape Verde, Cabo Verde, in Portugal when we lived there as missionaries. And
And you were in missionaries in Portugal for like 8 years, is that correct?
5.
5 years, that's what I thought.
5
I just
years.
wanted to see if you remembered.
5 years. Yes, I forgot that. That's where I was. I was in Portugal. And we met some folks from Cape Verde, Cabo Verde, and we loved it. And then my husband got the opportunity to go there and visit in 2011, right? And I had no clue, no idea. The little bitty that I knew was from those folks that we met.
Wow.
So when he came back from the trip, he loved it. He said that's where God would have, our family to move. At first, I was a little hesitated. We were in Portugal for 5 years. Our kids were growing up there. And it was hard to minister to the people there, but we were comfortable. We were fine. And I was not looking forward to move again.
Yeah.
I wasn't. And then I said, Lord, I'm going to just surrender to you and give it to you. Well, when I started...
Your husband told me that he said, I'm going to go to Cape Verde, and you said, have a good time. I really like my home here.
Not quite like that.
Is that what he said?
Not quite like that. But I was a little resistant because I started Googling and knowing more about it, how it was, and then I found out that was an island.
Oh.
Well, unlike you love islands to go to Hawaii, I had a fear of islands.
Oh.
I never loved or dreamed of going and visit an island.
Oh,
No.
so immediately you had hesitation just for that alone.
Just for that alone.
Wow.
And then moving with my 4 kids.
Oh, yeah. And they were little. So
They were little.
All the
And
water,
then
yeah.
another fear, a volcano island.
Oh, is it really?
Well, not the island that we live. They do have volcanoes there, but they're not active.
But in the islands around.
The island next to us, there is.
Oh, wow.
And I thought to myself, Lord, what do you want me to do? I said, I don't think I can handle it.
Right.
And, all those fears, all those things that started getting on my head.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? God created everything, and I surrender my life to him. I know he's going to take care of us.
Yeah.
And I just give it to
Wow.
him. And God was so gracious. I remember the first field trip we did when we went there, just the two of us.
They speak Portuguese in Cape
Yes,
Verde.
sir.
They
Okay.
do. They do. It used to be a colony of Portugal
Oh, okay.
until the 1970s. So it's a pretty new
Wow.
country.
And so you already knew the language before you even headed there.
One of their languages.
One of it.
Yes.
They have multiple because it's a kind of like a little melting pot there with a
Yes,
bunch
they speak the Creole, which is
Okay.
the language of the heart.
Okay.
Because of the slavery trade and all the oppression that they have from the Portuguese government, they started speaking Creole to help them to speak with themselves without the Portuguese understanding them.
Oh, okay.
So that was a way for them to,
Right. So they could have their own secret language.
yes, yes,
Right.
for them,
Wow.
the way for them to survive,
Right.
all that.
Oh my goodness.
So-
Wow. So then you guys ended up moving over into Portugal. And what year was that?
That was in 2013. Anne and I, we visit in 2012, on September of 2012. And we found a place, we found a house. And that was my second time in the island. In 2011, I went with some folks from Brazil, from the church that we built there in Brazil. The pastor came and some of the members came, and we did our survey trip. That was the time that I cried my hearts out because I want to stay in Cape Verde. But I could not let Anna know. By then, we had 4 little kids, and for her to keep her sanity, she left the house. She went to a park, and there was no cell phone back. Well, at least we could not have cell phone back then. So I ended up coming back to Portugal, finished the Bible Institute that we have started, and I finished that semester, and we came to America to raise funds, support, and awareness of the ministry that the Lord has put on our hearts. Once we did that, we stay here visiting churches from 2011 until 2013. We were scheduled to go in 2012, but we had a little dog. And the airline said that we could not take a dog in the end of the year, just in January. So we postponed or going to the field in the end of the year to January so we could take our pet. And then as soon as we got to Cape Verde, we got there on Wednesday, and then on Sunday we already were doing quote-unquote ministry, serving the Lord, because of the fact that we knew the language, and that was very, very, very helpful.
Oh my goodness. What an amazing story. So did you go and start then another church there in Cape Verde once you got there? Or is there other
Yes,
mission,
ma'am.
another
Yes,
mission that you joined?
We start immediately, start working to start Family Baptist Church. And little did we know about the family situation in Cape Verde. They say that 2% of the children live with a father and a mother in a house.
2%.
2%.
Only 2% have a mom and a
98%
Oh
either
my
would live with
goodness.
daddy or with mother or with grandparents or with an
my
uncle or
goodness.
with some relative because the parents might be overseas.
Wow.
Remember, we are an island and there's 1 million Cape Verdeans living outside of the nation. Wow. And just
my
500,000 living in the island. So we did not know that.
And you named
statistically.
your church Family Baptist Church.
Family Baptist Church.
And
We
you
want
didn't
to be a
even
family.
know that, oh, wow,
No.
what a pull that would have
Yes.
been.
And that's what we have tried to be. Suzanne was the first man I led to the Lord in 2011.
Suzanne?
Susano. Like Suzanne, and then Suzanne, we just put the O on the end.
Okay.
And Suzano, I led him to the Lord on my very first trip. On Monday, the last Monday of January 2011, and on Sunday, he had tried to commit suicide 3 times. I did not know that. I ended up finding that out later when my son was interviewing him for a video we were doing. And Suzano, he was very active. He was a basketball player. He was a champion on bodyboard, and then he lost his leg. And so we met him on the crisis of his life. Anyhow, when we came on 2012, the city is big. It's about 200,000 people plus. Very spread city. and we found a house that was about 400 yards away from the little room that Suzanne was living.
Oh,
Wow.
So
Oh
that
my
man with one leg,
goodness.
he has been the tool that God has used for us to reach to
Wow.
many in that city.
Oh, because a lot of people know him
Know
because
him.
of everything he's gone through. He's
And
like a
and
local hero.
I used to have hair in my barber shop. One day he told me, he said, Pastor, they call me Pastor. He said, Pastor, chiriri, that's the way they call someone that doesn't have a leg. He really got saved. He used to curse and drink like a maniac. We could not even stand beside him because of the curse words that he did.
Wow.
And then God has changed Susano's life to the point that my son taught him 3 positions on the guitar. The only thing my son knew was 3 positions on the guitar. And since then, Susano has learned to play the guitar, and most of the songs that we sing, he has made them. It's a very
my
gift man.
goodness,
And-
really?
And the cherry on the cake.
The worship and praise songs that you guys sing are
Yes.
coming from him because he wrote them.
Most
and,
of them.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he's a very gift man. God has used him. And last year, God gave him a wife.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Praise the Lord.
Oh,
So,
that is amazing.
oh, I saw. You showed the
Yes,
video of the
yes.
picture of them getting married.
Yes, yes.
When you said Suzanne, I thought
Susanna.
you said Susanna, and I thought, oh, the girl's the one, and then you said no,
Susanna.
you said he,
He.
and I thought I'm confused, but I understand. Susanna is
Susanno.
Oh.
is
Susanna.
is a man's name in
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. And it is a blessing. And through him, he has a sport ministry. He was a soccer coach. He taught my oldest son to play soccer.
Wow.
Now, remember, he doesn't have a leg,
Wow.
but he rides in a bike.
Oh, you're
He
kidding.
rides a bike.
He rides a bike.
He's
He
a
swim.
real athlete.
Very
and
athlete.
Yes.
The swim, I remember one time I baptized, and then this man, which is another pastor there, Evandro, he said, let's swim some. And I have all my clothes and I'm swimming. And then I'm drawing. And then
Oh.
Evandro tried to help me, and Evandro is also drawing. Guess what? Susano
Susano.
came
Oh, my
to the
goodness.
rescue.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And,
Wow.
and then he was a coach. And I just am saying this to come to this point. We met Elias. And Elias grew up away from his mother, saw his daddy maybe once or twice. And Elias got saved. Today, Elias is in Portugal. And Elias, as a 14-year-old, he came to me. He said, Pastor, God is my father now? I said, yes, Elias. So now I can say God is my father. I said, yes, God is your father.
Wow.
Pastor, would you be a father to me as well?
Wow.
I said, of course, Elias. I would be glad to be a father to you and to mentor and to teach you on the things of the Lord. So that need of belonging, to have
Yeah.
a family that only the Lord can provide. And that's what we are trying to do.
You feel the people are very receptive there in Cape Verde?
They are. It's a little country with big opportunities.
Yeah.
It's just the religious system sometimes. I grew up Catholic too.
Okay.
So I do understand.
Is
that side of-
Catholicism the
the
main
coin.
religion there?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. And when I got saved, my grandma got mad,
Really?
really, really mad at me and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she did not want to do anything with us anymore. It took a while for her to
Wow.
accept.
Right.
Took a lot of prayer. But I knew that what God had given me, it was nothing like it.
Right.
Whatever it was that I lost,
Yes.
there was no compare to what Jesus gave it to me.
Wow.
So that was so much greater.
Yes.
And I've seen through the years, God changes still. My whole family, most of them still very religious, very Catholic.
Yeah.
But so even seeing those things in my life in the past, how God prepared me for where I am right now.
Right.
Because most of these people, once they get saved and they get fire for God, they have resistance in their family,
Yeah.
in their neighborhood, and they start being criticized. They start, people
Right.
start calling them names. And unfortunately, some of them, they just give up.
Wow. Yeah.
But we're seeing that a lot of people have passed that and have been having the courage of just keep on going and serving God regardless of what their family and people say. But it's tough.
Oh, yeah.
Like there was this young man that he was friends with our kids, and he started very young at our church, and he was like a son to me. And he was growing, and he was being
Yeah.
faithful, and then he wanted to get baptized. And he was ready
Ready.
for it, and that is all that he wanted. And the mom would just not let him.
Aw.
No, you have been baptized already.
Oh, yeah. And so it's just
So
that
it's
draws
hard.
the line of,
Yes.
yeah, that
so
is difficult.
we have seen others that waited, and God eventually changed the mother's heart and allowed them to get baptized. But others, like one of these young men that we knew, he left the church,
Right.
and we have no idea what
wow.
how
But you
he's
planted
living
the
right now.
seed, and if he accepted the Lord, then at least he has that.
So we see both.
So
sides.
that the importance of the local church is really, really emphasized there, because you have to have that.
Yes,
There,
sir.
that local church is the thing that's going to build the families within that.
Yes, sir.
And
But by all means, and I have told Anna and others many times before, we may not make a huge impact in this generation right now, as we are trying to develop and to spread the word of God, almost like in a pioneer work. But for sure, the next generation is going to be different. We are trying to reach the leadership of Cape Verde. We are trying to show them that Bible-believing Christianity is what they need, not a religion.
Yeah.
Because Cape Verde started with a religion. The Portuguese came there in 1460. 1463, they come back and start the first Catholic
wow.
religion on the West Hemisphere of Africa. Well, 4 years after, that church started the slavery trade.
Oh,
So
The
it was the church.
church.
It
The
was the
church.
church. If you
Oh,
know
my
anything of history,
goodness.
Drake, which was a captain in the Navy of England, he came and
Oh, my
robbed
goodness.
Cape Verde couple times. And the last time he burned the big cathedral that they have there, got all the gold and gave to His Majesty, and she built Oxford with the gold that came from Cape Verde.
Wow.
Oh, is
Oh,
that right?
And
my
that gold was there
goodness.
because of the slavery trade.
Wow.
So religion is a part of Cape Verde history.
Wow.
But Bible-believing Christianity is what we are trying to present in all the levels of society.
Yeah.
you showed videos today of speaking to the army in Cape Verde and the different places. Tell us the different groups that you have ministered to that are there in Cape Verde.
Well, the first group that we did outside of our church was because of this man that Anna just mentioned, Elvis. He was outside of the classroom doing school hour. And I saw him the next day. I went and I talked to the principal, and I want to know what is going on. And she was shocked. I'm not related to him. And I told her he used to come to our church, and he's a good kid. I did not like him on the street. Well, make a long story short, she put me in the classroom to talk to the students on that day. And I told them it's not in a religion, it is in a relationship. And then after Anna and I came back to the house, I have 34 classrooms that they want me to bring the same message. And then after that school year, they start getting me to train the teachers before the school year start. And then I would continue to do that same job in every classroom. I remember one day, almost every kid was, standing with a desire to accept the Lord as their Savior. Well, after that, when Evandro got saved and he was in the armed forces, he used to leave our island to go to the first military region. And his wife was there with a little baby, and we assisted her, talked to the doctors, and did everything for her. And I got a burden for that. I said, wow, Evandro needs that help. How about the other military servicemen? And I approached the military, and the man in command at that time, he grew up as a Seventh-day Adventist. And after 100 verses why I don't keep the Sabbath, he closed the door. So it happened a very tragic day in 2015 that one of them turned against themselves, and After that bloody situation, the doors were open for me. And since then, I start. During that time, I was there every day on the base to preach to them. And since then, I have been able to go through all the military regions, boot camp, training camp. When the recruits get there on the first week, I'm there, the first speaker that they have to preach for them, to them. I give a John and Romans, and that's where we are going to work on.
That's an amazing thing. If you could have seen the picture is just, it spreads out across this huge field, and all these recruits are out there, and he's preaching to all of them. And it's just a wonderful thing. So you're in the educational system,
Yes, sir.
You're in the military system,
Yes, sir.
And you've talked to political leaders as well.
Yes, sir. I start Pastor Grill. I'm from Brazil. We don't have the best steak, but we know how to do a steak. So I start Pastor Grill.
Pastor Grill.
Pastor's Grill.
So then
Pastor's
pastors
Grill.
come and you
Grill.
do a grill at like
Exactly.
barbecue.
It's-
Kind of.
Yes, like a
Okay.
barbecue.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
A churrasco.
And then bring this man, congressman, city hall councilors, district attorneys, engineers from the central bank, lawyers. I would bring them on the back of the mall there, where today is our church located, but back then it wasn't, and with the ocean view, and I would grill steak for them. And then they always want to pay. I say, no, everything that God gives to us is free of charge, is already paid. And then as they were eating, I would present the gospel message to them. Well, one inspector, chief inspector of the police, I was able to baptize him. One district attorney came to know the Lord through that,
Wow.
and I was able to baptize him. And then there is an engineer of the central bank that is being faithful to our church. He has been saved. I have not had the opportunity to baptize him, as Anna explained some of the circumstances that happened. But now his wife
He's
is,
starting to come.
yes,
Oh, you're
We
kidding.
started a couples
ministry.
and they are
Bible
part
study
of that.
every
And now
week.
she's starting to get open to the
Oh.
gospel.
Praise
And I
the
believe she
Lord.
has made a profession of faith, because last week, as we were dealing with forgiveness, she said how God's grace is perpetual.
That's amazing.
And that forgiveness we can exercise to our spouse. But anyhow, the couples retreat is another ministry. Because of the school, one of the kids in the school, 13-year-old, he committed murder. He cut somebody's throat. And he went to a juvenile detention center last year, the last day of February last year. And then I started going to the juvenile detention center. During that time, I was every day going there. I always find a slot here and there. And since it's near to the military bases, I would leave one place and go to the other. And then the jail, the only jail in our island, they have asked me to go. I volunteer for everything. I volunteer for everything. And they come and ask me to talk about mental health.
Oh,
So,
mental health.
I
Wow.
Google, I say what the Bible has to say about mental health. And then I go there and I
And
preach
tell them
them.
about
Another organization, they asked me to speak in an event about violence based on gender. So I told Anna and the kids, we walk in the
Wow.
street, and then came to this park, hundreds of people there, and I spoke on violence based on gender. John chapter 8, a human caught in adultery was brought in the presence of the Lord to be stoned. Well, that's violence based on gender. Where's the man?
Yeah.
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 Wow. So there's opportunity after opportunity after opportunity that has opened up to the Nunes family there in Cape Verde. And it's just amazing when you surrender to the Lord, so God can take you from Brazil to America, from there to Africa, where you're impacting people in an amazing way. We need to have a heart that is just surrendered to God. If God can use the Nunes family, God can use you. And God can use you in several ways in reaching the world. Number one, telling people where you are about Jesus Christ, taking every opportunity you have to tell people about Christ where you are. Asking God to advance your ministry, being a person of prayer, and then giving to missions. You may want to get in touch with the Nunes family. How can they do that? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, we are sent by and through Lakeside Baptist Church in Clearwater, South Carolina. And then we have a kind of a agents that help us to channel any offering that we receive. It's called Central Missionary Clearinghouse, right there in Houston, Texas. So if
Do you have an email address?
we do have a mail address, the easiest one is ABC and then another C, ABO, V as in Victor, ERDE. That means ABC Cabo Verde at hotmail.com. That's our email address. And we do have a stateside phone if you so desire.
If you didn't get that, you can get us here at experienceliberty.com and we can help you get that information. So we just want to thank you for being with us today. It's been great to get to know you. We're thrilled to have you here for the Missions Conference, and I'm so glad we were able to take this time to introduce you to our friends at Teis Talk.
Thank you for listening. This is Teis Talks.
And it's more than a conversation.